All right, during this next segment, we are going to hear from Diane Thurber, and so I invite her to come forward. And we're wanting these segments of our Congress to be very practical to equip you and those who you serve with resources for ministering to the most vulnerable and the orphans and vulnerable children. So we will now hear from Diane, so thank you.
Well, hello again, everyone. You know, we have plans, and then the Lord changes our plans. And we came here prepared to give a presentation about blind camps. But then leadership felt like we should talk a little bit broader about what Christian Record does, what we have to offer, and how the divisions can connect with Christian Record for some resources. And so I'm delighted to do that this afternoon. I just wanted to give a recap. I mentioned this morning that this ministry is 125 years old. It was started by Austin Wilson, someone who was blind himself, and he wanted more people like himself to have accessible resources, Braille, to learn more about God's love for them. So he developed the first Braille magazine that our church had to offer. He took a wash wringer, is the best I know how to say it. He punched dots in tin, and he ran that through the wringer with the paper, and then he produced the Christian Record magazine. Now, to this day, we produce the Christian Record magazine quarterly. It's a resource that goes around the world. We are just so delighted to have this celebration this year of 125 years. It's actually 120 years since we've been in Lincoln, Nebraska. We were hosted at the Battle Creek Sanitarium, and when they had their fire, then Christian Record Services lost their building as well, too. So Union College in Lincoln, Nebraska asked us to come, and they would give us space. So we were there for a while, and we are still in Lincoln, Nebraska. And so it's been a growing ministry for many, many years. It's been my honor to be part of the ministry since 2015. Christian Record is funded, and you may be interested to hear this because 125 years, how do you grow? How do you do what you do? We have a large donor database, but we do work hard to get those donor dollars in the door. We do this with a strong direct mail program, with nurturing major donors, but we also have an annual day of giving. We're on the North American Division calendar of offerings, so the second Sabbath in August every year, there's a special video sent out to all the churches that is played, and we get a nice offering back from that. Also, offerings come in throughout the year from local churches and individuals. We have a little bit of interest income that is generated, too, from some reserves, which helps with the ministry. And then also, there are wills and bequests. People leave generous gifts at times for the ministry. So how do we decide what services and programs we're going to offer? You know, it started with a magazine, but we do quite a bit more than that now. How do we decide? Well, one thing is our mission statement. Our mission statement is empowering people who are blind to engage their communities and embrace the blessed hope. We know that on a path, a different path, so we want to empower them along that path and whatever their goals and needs are, but also help them then in their communities give back and to be active in their communities and grow in their communities and also grow in their relationship with Jesus. So we have the mission statement that it informs everything that we decide to do for the ministry, but we also have the members' voices. Now, I say members, I'm not talking about Seventh-day Adventist Church members necessarily. They used to be called clients, and they thought that was a little sterile. So we asked them, how would you like to be called? And they said members or patrons, so we chose members. You might be interested to know that 80% of the people that we serve do not identify as members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So it's a real mission field of this ministry. And you might also be interested to know that this ministry is supported by 80% of the donors that do not identify as Seventh-day Adventist either. They are people that care about the marginalized. We get a lot of dollars that come from the Amish faith. They want Bibles. They want people to have Bibles. Mennonites, we have gifts from Catholics, Presbyterians, Baptists, you name it. And our membership includes Jews and Muslims as well. and we're just delighted to serve whoever God sends through our door. So our members inform what we decide to produce or do at the ministry. We have on our board of directors 3 individuals who are blind. That's happened since 2015. You know, I always say, you don't know what you don't know. As sighted people, we can make decisions for people who are blind, but we may not know what they really need or want. So help to inform us. We also have established 2 different advisories, one for a particular part of our ministry, which I'll talk about later, called Phone Faith, and another one is just for the overall ministry. And these are people who are blind, or they serve people who are blind in other capacities. They are Christians who support our mission and help us to grow and develop and be stronger. So I'll give you an example of how we listen to these members. Following COVID, when there was so much death and dying, they were saying, we're hurting. We've lost family members. We've lost loved ones. We asked Mike Tucker to come in. He was someone who lost his wife, and he was a professional counselor, and he wrote a book called Tears to Joy. He came and recorded the book for us, so we have it on audiobook. Then we also transcribed it to Braille, and we have it in large print as well. That was a real need that was met. And then just like the general population, we learned that depression and suicide are very difficult for teens. Well, others too, but especially for the young people. And so the North American Division Youth Ministries Department had put out a series of mental health books. And I brought one here today on depression that you can look at closer after the meeting. But the books include depression, anxiety, suicide harm, getting help, recovery tools, brain training, and staying healthy. These are books that are available in large print and Braille, and this came as a result of listening to our members. Now, another interesting one I got just since I've been here is from one of our members that says, "Hey, Diane, I have an idea for you." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "Our churches need to be able to order Braille signs to put around the church. You know, they do it on the restrooms, but there's no other signs in the rest of the church." He said, "We need to find our way around the church." Well, that gives me something to think about. What can we do? But there's also tactile maps that could be made for people at the churches. So there's just a lot of creative ideas we could do. Resources are kind of the challenge. So I'll just talk briefly about some of the programs that we have to offer and the services to our members who are blind. And we'll trade off on the mics here. I mentioned Phone Faith a few minutes ago. Phone Faith is something that started in 2020. It's a ministry coordinated by someone who is blind for the blind community in the United States. We have 17 call-in programs a week that are live. There are volunteer hosts that help the coordinator with this. We offer mental health and wellness sessions, Bible study, prayer sessions. There's a gadget gallery where they can learn about technology that can enhance their life. There's one where they can, like an open mic, where they can share their talents. This has been really appreciated by those that join. We also offer ANLO scholarships. This is a college education scholarship. We usually give away about 6 a year to qualified applicants to help them achieve their goals for higher education. And then there's blind camps. Now, Christian Record has been having blind camps since 1967. More than 50,000 people have gone through those. As you can imagine, those that were children in 1967 have grown up, and they want to keep coming to camp. They love camp. So when you go to a camp, for a blind camp, you might see people who are young, but you might see a lot of older people too. We don't think it's bad to have the intergenerational mix because they learn from each other and they have a good time together. I was going to give a lot more information about blind camps, but I do want to tell you about this day camp handbook that's available. Now, you may think a blind camp week is just more than you can take on in your territory, your local church, your conference, but maybe a day camp is possible. And it could be like a glorified VBS, if you want to say. If you go to adventsource.org, they produced this day camp handbook. And if you do a search for day camp, there's a book that comes up that you can purchase. If you keep scrolling down the page, you can download it for free. So that's what I want to offer for you to do today, is to go to adventsource.org, search for day camp, and find this manual. I wanted to share a little bit about why camp is so important and why Christian Record is still involved in that. Then the Church of the Nazarene did a study on the ages when Americans say they initially placed their belief and their faith in Jesus as the promised Messiah. They found that between the ages 0 and 4, the study showed 1%. Between the ages of 4 and 14, 85%. Ages 15 to 30, 10%. Ages 30 and up, 4%. Now, Group Ministries also said that a study that they did showed that camp is the number one place where children give their hearts to Jesus. So this is why camp is so important. Another survey cited by the International Bible Society indicated that 83% of Christians make their first commitment to Jesus between the ages of 4 and 14, thus when they are children or early youth. And Barna Research Group indicate that American children ages 5 to 13 have a 32% probability of accepting Christ, but youth or teens aged 4 to 18 have only a 14% probability of doing so. And unbelieving adults ages 19 and over have just a 6% probability of becoming Christians. So I know that in every country you can't talk openly about Jesus, but you can still show the difference that Jesus makes in someone's life by releasing that love we talked about this morning. So I just encourage you to consider blind camps, because that's something you can do for a lot of children. Christian Record also has a correspondence Bible school. We use the Voice of Prophecy Discover lessons. We also have several other lesson sets, but that's the primary one. We offer free Bibles in large print, Braille, and audio. And we do have a library of audiobooks. It's an exchange service in the United States where books are recorded on a digital cartridge and they go shipping out and they come back. And then people can load their own queue of books just like you would at your library. We have more than 2,000 titles. But a lot of those same books are available online. And that's the nice thing for the World Church, is we've made those available to anyone throughout the world who has computer access and knowledge on how to use it, that they can access the library if they have an account with Christian Record Services. So they can read these books, listen to these books through the streaming services. And so you would just need to contact our office to set up an account. I think this would be very important for an orphanage if you have a computer lab or if you have technology that you could let the children listen to the Bible stories. Your story hour, which some of you might be familiar with, has a lot of stories in our library, but there's a lot of other good books as well. So that's something would be nice for you to take advantage of. Not all of the books in our library are permissioned for every territory of the world because of copyright restrictions. One day that's not going to be an issue because there's something called the Marrakesh Treaty that is calling for free exchange between every country. And the countries have to ratify it to agree to that, and then they can share freely. Not all the countries have done that yet. So we look forward to the day when there are no copyright restrictions for people who are blind to access the books. They say there's a book famine in the blind community, and we want to be part of that solution to eliminate that book famine and to open up the world to people who are blind. We offer free books and magazines through Christian Record Services, and I'll just show a few of those today. So if you have a publishing house in your territory, encourage them, when they do children's books, to make them large print, because many do not. They might think they do because they might do 12 or 14 point, but the standard for large print is 18 point. And there are certain fonts that have been created that are more readable for people who are blind. So Zondervan, a publishing house in the United States, it's a Christian publishing house, they do all of their children's books that we have found to use in large print. And they have different reading levels. And so here's one on Jesus Feeds the 5,000. We have Bible story books, we have nature books, we have character building books. In fact, last year we did about, I think, 52 or 53 new children's books. The exciting thing about these books is because they are large print already, and because Zondervan has given us a significant discount to purchase through them, we buy the book, we cut off the spine, and then we open it up, and we insert the Braille pages. So you can see the plastic with the Braille dots. We call this a full vision book, because this means that anyone who is blind can read to each other. If it's a parent and they want to read a book to their children, they can either read the large print or they can read the Braille. And one of our board members does have a 4-year-old daughter, and he says this has made the world of difference in their worship experience, having the Christian books in Braille that he can read to the daughter. And he can say, "Tell me what you see on the page." And now she's trying to learn to read Braille as well. So, like I said, there's nature books made by God, poisonous, smelly, and amazing plants. There's just a huge variety. Here's the newest one off the press, as you would say, really off the embosser. This is another book, Let's Learn to Pray, Talk to God About Anything and Everything. And it's about teaching children how to pray. It's also a full vision book. We're just delighted to have this in our library now. If you were to take a Bible, a Braille Bible, stack it up, it would come about to my shoulders. It's a big, big book. It's actually a series of volumes. Christian Record has several Bibles that we have available through our library. The latest one that we've done is called the Net Bible. In the Net Bible, we have a beautiful color cover so that family members can recognize what their members have. But inside is the Bible in Braille. And we offer this in a spiral bound so that they can easily turn the pages, flip it over. And I will say that there's a lady in my church, Claire Marino, who teaches the Sabbath school lessons sometimes, and she uses the Bibles from Christian Record Services to do that. We talk about magazines. We have several magazines. One that you might be interested in is called The Children's Friend. This is full of Bible stories, nature stories, character building stories. It's just a nice resource for children. It's been around quite a while, too. I don't remember when it first started, but this comes out every quarter. And we do have some adults that like to subscribe to it, too, because one lady goes to the library. She's blind. She takes it and reads to the children in a story hour at her library. So all the programs and resources that we do through Christian Record are free to our members who are blind. We also serve people who cannot physically hold a book. So if they have cerebral palsy or if they're quadriplegic and they can't hold a book, they can take advantage of our audio resources. And this is only possible due to the generous donors that support this ministry that help make that possible. In 2019, well, actually, let's back up, 2016, Christian Record Services was a GC institution, but it was voted at that point to become an NAD institution. And so then services outside the U.S. Ceased for a while. But then Elder Evans and I sat down and we thought about how can we continue to offer support to the world field. We can't fundraise there at Christian Record. We can't collect offerings overseas. So there had to be a way to provide resources where the funding would come to cover the cost. We don't want to make a lot of money on that. We want to cover our cost on what we can do. So we devised a plan. we have an open enrollment period every year, and we invite the divisions to sign up for one or two options. The first option is for the Sabbath school lessons that we offer. The second option is for the magazines, the members' choices of magazines that we offer. And so a good number of the divisions in the church are doing that. And how that is handled is they sign up, they send me the form, we send it to the GC Treasury, they do a debit credit, providing the funds to us, taking it from the division, and then we send out the resources that are reserved, that are ordered. And this has been going on since about 2019, and we are delighted to be able to help the divisions advance their goals to minister to people who are blind. Now, the one thing that we also offer is special projects. So if a division said, I would like to have the Beginner's Bible for children, they would send us a special order form. We would say, what is the quantity that you need? And they would tell us the quantity. Then we would tell them what the cost would be, and we would send it back to them, and then they would agree if they want it or not. And then we do the debit credit transfer like we do for the other resources. So that could be a variety of projects. If you're having a special event and you wanted everyone to have the book of John in the Bible, or if you wanted them to have Steps to Christ, the grants that we get help us to do the extra special things that we could not do otherwise. And a recent grant just is helping us to produce the Conflict of the Ages series in Braille and large print. Can you believe our church has never had that available in accessible formats for people who are blind? But they will after this year. Another grant helped us in reproducing the Adventist hymnal. There's never been a full version of the hymnal in Braille for people who are blind. This one will not only have the lyrics, but it will have the index, it will have the responsive readings. We're also getting the music Braille. So if someone plays music and knows how to read the music Braille code, they'll be able to play the hymnals. We're excited about that. These are things that God is making possible through these grants that are given. So I'm just trying to think if there's something else you'd like to hear about. I'm going to put all of these resources in the back. So if you want to see them close up, you can do that. We have a website too. I invite you to go to our website, christianrecord.org. And through that website, you can contact me. You can contact our member services. And they will be able to provide information about which resources are available in your territory if your division has contracted for services for this year. So please do that. My encouragement to you, this ministry started 125 years ago. It started with one magazine, and God has helped it grow in a variety of surprising ways. And it continues to grow. I keep telling the team the best years are ahead of us because God keeps providing technology for people who are blind that they've never had before. Many of these resources are also available in digital Braille. So if they have the technology, they can download the digital Braille and read it on their device. They don't have to wait for a hard copy to come. So it's just an exciting time, and I just encourage you to start small and do what you can to provide resources, not only to help eliminate the book famine in your area, if there is one, but also to help us continue to share God's love to the blind community. And I think since I finished a little bit earlier, is there any questions that I could answer?
A short question, and thank you so much for presentation, all the work you have been doing. Any material available in other language than English?
Good question. Okay, so most of our materials are in English and in Spanish. What we have invited the divisions to do, but we haven't really received what we had hoped, was if you are producing resources in Braille, or if you are producing them in audio, we would love to add them to our library. And then everyone around the world, say if it's French, anyone who speaks French would have that access. Anyone that speaks Japanese or Chinese. We know that there's resources being produced out there in audio. And so we'd love to partner further with the divisions to expand our library. Most people who become blind do so after age 50. This is primarily due to health issues like macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, glaucoma, maybe injury or accident. So they don't learn the Braille, but they want the audio. And that's why we offer large print, audio, and Braille, because we want to have resources available wherever they are on their journey. There's another question in the back.
Does Christian Records have any resources for the deaf?
For the deaf, Christian Record Services used to be a ministry that was combined with deaf ministries. They are no longer, but there is a wonderful deaf coordinator in the United States and North American Division, Esther Doss. And I think Larry Evans would probably be able to share more about what deaf ministries has. But I know they have Hope Channel Deaf, and they have a church for the deaf in Tennessee, a website for the deaf also. Adventist Deaf Ministry International. So there's a lot going on for the deaf. It's just not tied to Christian Record. Okay. All right, so if you'll look at the Adventist Learning Community, that's a collection of resources, presentations. It's a website you can go to. Jeff Jordan, who is deaf, has added some material there that you can access. Here comes the microphone.
Okay, so I've just gone on your website.
Yes.
So do I need to become a member to see the resources? Because I was scanning through and I'm not seeing where the resources are.
Okay. So our library is proprietary. That means that you have to be blind to be able to get into the library.
I'm sorry.
However, and we have to do that because of copyright restrictions and also because of integrity with our donors. So if you know someone who's blind, you can ask them to set up a membership account, and you can look at it with them through there.
Okay.
We do have a children's resource catalog, though, that has a little overview, and we also have an adult resource catalog. Okay. And you could request that if you'd like to from the ministry.
Okay.
The catalog would be available for free if you requested it. Mm-hmm.
It's okay. How can we, so if we request it from the website, it will be available to us. If in case we have some friends, some blind friends, we are going to refer it to the website. How can they avail of the services? Are they going to apply or what?
Well,
where will we request?
Every division has access to different resources. Most all of the resources that I've mentioned today, United States. But the Sabbath school lessons, the adult Sabbath school lessons in English and Spanish, those are available through those divisions that contracted for the services, and the magazines that the members want to choose if they contracted for those services. What is free to the world is the library, the online library. So if you have someone you know who is blind who could access the online library and listen to the audiobooks streaming, that is no charge. I have some contact cards, too, here afterwards that you could have to pass out to some of your friends. And if you need more, you can ask us to send you some. Right. So what Elder Evans is saying is if you go to the Adventist Possibility Ministries website, you will find a section on blind, And there is some information there that would be helpful to you. And you can also access Christian Record through that site as well. There's another hand in the very back.
Yes.
So,
If we have Braille copies of Ellen G.
of Ellen G. White books,
Yes.
we are just working on the Conflict of the Ages series. So that's the Desire of Ages, Great Controversy, Acts of the Apostle, Prophets and Kings, and which one did I leave out? There's 5.
Yeah, we appreciate that very much because my son is blind and he has a complete set of Bible, but he would appreciate Braille copies of Ellen G. White's writings. Now is audio. Listen to it through audio. He just listens
Yeah.
to the writings,
We do
but he
have-
would appreciate Braille for
And
that.
where does your son live?
We live in the Philippines.
Philippines.
Uh-huh.
So how that would be handled, or request for something like that, would be through your division Adventist Possibility Ministries office. They would need to fill out a special project order form, and they would tell us how many copies they want. We would let them know what the cost would be, and then they would agree to it or not. We have had some members that have chosen to fund a resource that the division didn't necessarily want, but that person wanted it for a special member that they are friends with. And so we were able to do that through the division. But the agreement we have with the General Conference is that everything goes through the division. Thank you. Okay, I don't think I see any other hands. Oh yes, Ortai.
Last year, I was actually communicating with you regarding, some of the special needs children who need some resources. And I remember you have actually sent us a form for registration because you would like to know how many, children who are blind or deaf so that you can actually see whether you can send the resources to them with the division, as you mentioned, and there is a promise that you are going to do it with minimal charges. And so, what can we, as probably many of us are from the division level, maybe children ministry, could do to facilitate the resources so that we can avail whatever you have produced for the children?
I would say to maybe survey in your division about what the interests are. We talked about a book, Michael Asks Why, which is the children's version of The Great Controversy. The challenge when it comes to Braille, and you may not be aware of this, is there's the Unified English Braille Code, which is what we use. But there's over 100 different Braille codes, depending on which country you're in. They may have their own Braille code. Now, we may not publish in that Braille code, but we can help facilitate maybe getting it translated to that Braille code. We work with a vendor that has access to the software that can do that. So I would say survey what is needed. Then through your department, you can send it to the Adventist Possibilities Ministry department, what you're interested in. Send that to us with the quantity that you're interested in, the deadline, and we will work up a price. Now, we have to cover our costs because our donors are not, they don't donate for outside the U.S. They donate for in the U.S., and it's not that they don't care, but we're not able to collect offerings outside. We're not able to fundraise outside. So we will do it at our cost, and that includes the paper, the translation cost, that includes some for the person that's actually doing the embossing. Now, if we were sending it out to, we have an organization that helps us do our magazines called Clovernook. If we were to send it to them, they're going to charge a lot more than we do it in-house. So it would be our goal to try to do any of the orders we receive from the divisions in-house. We're very blessed that we just got a grant from the General Conference to expand our Braille facility, our capacity, so that we are hopefully going to be able to take on more projects when they come our way. This isn't something that's always been possible. So talk to us. If you have a special project you're interested in, I would be the one that you would reach out to and ask for a conversation. What would it take to make this happen, to get that resource? And we'll do all we can to help you.
Amen.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Diane. That was thrilling to learn. And how many of you were blessed? Thank you.